Welcome to RPV City Talk. RPV City Talk is brought to you by the City of Rancho Palos Verdes to inform the community on recent city matters. RPV City Talk is a weekly show that features the RPV mayor, city council, or city employees.
Hello everyone, I'm Liz Brown Swanson and welcome to RPV City Talk. Today we are going to talk about the biggest public works project in the history of Rancho Palos Verdes. It is the San Ramon Stabilization Project. This is a project that is aiming to stop the eroding right here in the San Ramon Canyon from undermining the switchbacks and wreaking more havoc in the community. And joining me now is someone that works for the city that knows everything about San Ramon and what's happening right here in the stream bed where we're sitting, is the RPV Public Works Department Senior Engineer, Ron Dragoo. Ron, it's great to be back with you right here in the canyon. I know you've been here many times to address the issues here, but before we get into all of that and the problems with San Ramon, let's just give our viewers sort of a scene setter of where San Ramon Canyon sits and just the problems with it.
Sure. San Ramon Canyon is on the eastern side of the city. It's kind of south of Marymount College, and at the foot, the headwaters of the canyon are at the foot of San Ramon Drive. Comes down the canyon, parallels Terrapaca Street in the canyon, outlets or leaves RPV into the city of LA, and an inlet is located along PV Drive South in the city of LA, and that's the inlet that is frequently overwhelmed and flooded and the mud in the roadways during winter storms.
I know that well, as it blocks access sometimes,
Right.
like to PV Drive South where I live, and you can't get through. So I'm very excited to see this area stabilized, so we don't have any more of that. Talk about the actual. There's a lot of problems that this canyon is causing, and you really are trying to prevent a possible catastrophe if the roads fail, the main arteries into the city, along with a potential threat to property and life even. So talk about all those problems that are really pressing right now.
Sure. The water, as it comes down the canyon, it erodes. Let me set that scene for you, if you will. It erodes the soils in the canyon. There's an area of particular weak soils right at the foot of Terrapaca Drive. We call it the Terrapaca landslide. Motorists driving up the switchbacks can see the landslide from the road. It's not a small landslide, but it's by no means a large landslide. It's nothing near Portuguese Bend landslide size. It's a localized landslide. The waters that come down the canyon erode the toe of that landslide, bringing debris and rocks and rubble down the hill, down to 25th Street, depositing them on 25th Street, causing problems down there. Access problems right during moderate to heavy storms. Additionally, as the landslide slips, as it erodes, an inlet is located along PV Drive South in the city of LA, and that's the inlet that is frequently overwhelmed and flooded and the mud in the roadways during winter storms.
I know that well, as it blocks access sometimes,
Right.
like to PV Drive South where I live, and you can't get through. So I'm very excited to see this area stabilized, so we don't have any more of that. Talk about the actual. There's a lot of problems that this canyon is causing, and you really are trying to prevent a possible catastrophe if the roads fail, the main arteries into the city, along with a potential threat to property and life even. So talk about all those problems that are really pressing right now.
Sure. The water, as it comes down the canyon, it erodes. Let me set that scene for you, if you will. It erodes the soils in the canyon. There's an area of particular weak soils right at the foot of Terrapaca Drive. We call it the Terrapaca landslide. Motorists driving up the switchbacks can see the landslide from the road. It's not a small landslide, but it's by no means a large landslide. It's nothing near Portuguese Bend landslide size. It's a localized landslide. The waters that come down the canyon erode the toe of that landslide, bringing debris and rocks and rubble down the hill, down to 25th Street, depositing them on 25th Street, causing problems down there. Access problems right during moderate to heavy storms. Additionally, as the landslide slips, as it erodes and continues to slip, it's reconfiguring, if you will, the stream, the water, and it's pushing the water closer to the switchbacks. So the soils near the switchbacks are being eroded away as well. And
Right, and you say since 2005 it's eroding at a very alarming rate. And we talked just about this year alone. I mean, it just sort of, did it exceed your expectations of what you thought might be happening, or how is it holding?
You know, I thought this year was going to be exceptional in regard to erosion, but it doesn't look, in our walk up the canyon, it doesn't look as though it was anything out of the ordinary this year, which is good news. Right. At last measurement, the cliff edge and the road bed were about 86 feet apart. There's been some erosion this year, so it's a little closer than that. We haven't been able to measure it yet, but that'll be coming here real quick. The one problem that we did notice, actually during the design of the project study report for this project, there's a sewer line that's located adjacent to the switchbacks and in between the switchbacks and the canyon. The canyon edge is moving closer to that sewer line, and at this point our geologists are telling us that you got to pay attention to that. So we are designing a project that will relocate that sewer line and put it out of harm's way, if you will.
That's just to add to the list of things that could be going wrong here and things that are happening.
Exactly, one more thing that gets put on the calendar here.
Certainly, San Ramon has been in the headlines for years. The community is sort of waiting and wondering, when is this all going to happen, where you can repair it here. But the city council currently did make it a top priority, and one of their goals. And of course, the last in March, they approved what would be an alternative preferred project, or what they're calling a preferred project. Right. What is the project right now that's on the table to fix this?
The project is a tunnel that will ultimately collect water up north of the landslide here in the canyon, run the water through a pipe in a tunnel to an area down near the mobile home park, and we'll put it in a conventional pipe at that point, cut and cover it's called, to a point where we come to the bluff, where we'll again use a tunneling method down to the beach and get the water down on the beach that way. So we'll collect the water on the north side of the landslide, eliminate the probability of the water eroding the landslide, and put it down on the beach. That's the piping portion of the project, and then there's the stream bed specific portion of the project. What we have planned for that is to bring in some fill materials, some fill soils, and place them in the canyon bed south of the inlet point of the piping, and they'll be changing the elevation back closer to what it used to be in the canyon.
Now you say this is a tunnel alignment project.
Yes.
It sounds simple, but to drop a tunnel through, I mean, I think it's going to travel a long distance, right?
Right.
So talk about more specifically, how do you do that, and how many feet is this tunnel traveling? Sure.
Yeah, the tunneling portion is a real interesting piece of civil engineering. It's a similar technology to what was used in McCarroll Canyon, and on that project we tunneled from the roadbed from PV Drive south, actually a little south of the roadbed, down to the beach. On this project, we're going to be tunneling from the park, Shoreline Park area, up. We'll be tunneling north, tunneling uphill, and then through a conveyor belt, the materials will be removed and a sleeve, essentially, inserted into that tunnel, and the sleeve acts as shoring for the tunnel. The materials will be taken and brought up here in the canyon and placed up here to help stabilize the landslide and restore the original stream bed elevation. Once the tunnel is completed, there'll be a big steel sleeve in that tunnel, and we'll be able to run the storm drain pipe through the tunnel. The material we're looking at using for that piece of the pipe would be, it's called high density polyethylene, and it's a very thick plastic. It comes pre-manufactured in large sections, and the sections are welded together in the field. So it's a technology that's been around for several years. It's very durable and flexible.
And I know that there were different alternatives presented to the council. Why was this really the preferred choice?
The alternative that the council decided on is 100% in RPV. So the complications of acquiring land we don't own are minimized, and running through and connecting to an existing storm drain system are alleviated.
Right, so the fact that it'll exclusively take place in this city, do explain to the viewers more how this really is considered sometimes a multi-jurisdictional issue where You have actually involved with San Ramon, you have the county and the city of LA. Just to explain that whole idea that it is multi-jurisdictional.
Sure. The waters in the canyon here, they travel from RPV through across the toe of the county park up here, Friendship Park. Friendship Park is in RPV, but it's a county park. And then they are deposited, the waters are deposited into the city of LA at the lower reaches of the San Ramon Canyon. The city is interested in this project, the city of LA is interested in this project due to the fact that they have a roadway that's impacted during every rainfall. And also there are a number of mobile homes to the south of the road that could be affected if we had problems up in the canyon. County is interested in this project because they have a park right here, and additionally they collect a fee for maintaining storm systems throughout the county. We've been told their fee doesn't include new construction projects, but it's specifically a maintenance fee at this point. But we'll see, how the funding goes and
Right.
how all those pieces play together.
Which brings me to the next big question, of course, is the funding, which is the big one because this project is going to cost nearly 20 million, or 19.2 is the number I think that's
Yes.
out there. And you're in the process of applying for grant money. So talk about that. I mean, how you're going to be able to come up with all this money.
Sure. The project is the largest project in the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. I understand it's the largest project ever, public works project in the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. $19.2 million is larger than the city's budget, our annual operating budget, and without funding from outside sources, there's no way we can address this problem. We have two very important, critical arterial roadways that are affected by the project, the Switchbacks and 25th Street. There are numerous facilities around that rely on these arterials for access. The radar domes up at the top of the hill, the Coast Guard facility, Trump facility, and the Terrapaca facility down there, just to name a few. So we believe that it's a regionally motivated project, and as such we're pursuing funding at the state level through a water resources grant, at the federal level, Safety Lou, which is transportation money, and at the state, we've applied for funding through a Prop 1E grant. We just finished that application. That was an extremely long, laborious process, but we did get the application in. The good news is 50% funding could be available through that grant, and we're hopeful with this grant right now. It seems to be a real proposition at this point. There's one other project that we're competing with in LA, and that's a County of LA project for detention basins.
So when do you think you might know about when you'll have this funding in place?
The grant they're supposed to announce grant awards or grant eligible projects awards in August to September, so coming up pretty quick here. We should have some word on this.
So in the worst case scenario, if you don't start getting your grant money, as you said, this is bigger than the budget of the city, where do you go from there?
Well, we are installing monitoring points up in the canyon to help us manage the distance that the roadway is to the canyon edge, and to alert us in the event there are problems up here. We have, as part of the project study report, Council authorized preparation of an early action
Right, I was gonna
project,
ask you about that.
which is a project that will stabilize or help to stabilize the switchbacks themselves through drilling these large caissons in the ground and tying them all together.
So that early action project has been approved, like you said, there is funding in place, but that's something that only if you need it,
Exactly.
as you monitor along, and so that you'll just kind of keep watching. And when you say you're installing these monitors, what are they? What do they do?
They're monitor points, which let's see, specifically they're a piece of pipe that's placed in the ground. The hole is drilled in the ground about 5 or 6 feet deep, and there's some rock and backfill soils that are placed in. Then a pipe is inserted in there, and they continue to backfill this hole in the ground with rocks, and they place a little lead target, if you will, on the end of the pipe. And the reason it's deep and configured like that is to allow the grounds around it to expand and contract with heat, the heat of the atmosphere and such. And the location of this little monitoring point should remain fairly consistent unless the ground around the monitoring point is moving, which is exactly what we're looking for. We need to be told if this area is stable, and when it starts to move closer to those switchbacks, these monitoring points will alert us, and we'll be able to, at that point, take this early action project and put it in motion and do something so we aren't surprised by
what kind of price tag is on this early action project?
Right now our estimate is $2 million. It's always construction prices that dictate the final cost, but that is the engineer's estimate at this point is a $2 million project.
You've been involved with this in the city for a long time, and there's been all kinds of studies conducted, but how did you actually come to the conclusion of what the solution is? Because I'm sure there are people saying, can you actually really even fix this problem?
Right.
Can you really stabilize this canyon and all of that?
Yeah. There've been a couple of other solutions that have been looked at. One was, let's repair that landslide. Fix the landslide, problem goes away. Not really. The soils out here are really unstable, and the water that comes down is moving very quickly, and we have a lot of soils that are deposited, a lot of erosion that's already taken place, so we'll continue to have problems if we've repaired that landslide. Not really feasible to repair the landslides on private property. So public funds being spent on private property to repair an existing act of God, if you will, it's not a good idea to do that. That's one solution. Another solution was, let's just place a pipe in the canyon and fill over the top of it. In theory, that stabilizes the landslide and it takes care of the erosion problems. But at the end of the pipe, when we outletted the pipe, and that was the plan, keep it all in the city of RPV, but when we outlet into LA, now we relocate the problem down into LA. So we've done harm in doing that project. So that project went away. Our third project, as you know, was put this out, get some consultants to help us and design a solution. And our consultants came up with this tunnel idea, and makes a lot of sense.
You're excited about this?
Yes, we are.
That's very, very, well, you've been working with this for a long time. In the best case scenario, when would we see groundbreaking? When could this really start to all take place?
The estimates are 33 months, best case scenario, this could happen. And that is provided that all of the environmental requirements are met and all the concerns are addressed and the mitigation put in place. Primarily, that's the primary focus. Secondarily, that funding was available timely so that we could begin construction on the project.
So right now for you, what's the next step in the Public Works Department in the process? What happens next?
Well, we're continuing to, as you know, continuing to watch all of our funding sources. The federal funds are critical to this project. Beyond that, in May, we're going to City Council with a request to award a design contract so we can actually begin designing the engineering fix for the tunnel project and all the ancillary fixes in the canyon out here. So that's the next big milestone.
Right. And obviously fundings, I would think, would be the biggest challenge, but what along with that would you say for you as someone that's been involved with this project that your biggest concerns right now in terms of making this all happen? And
oh, timing. Timing is
no more big rains.
That's it. Keep the rains away long enough for us to be able to finish the design, secure the funding, and begin construction on this project. That's
I mean, you can't crystal ball it, but I mean, how real? I mean, if there were heavy rains next winter, I mean, could the roads, could it fail? I mean, could
the roadway itself? I'd say no. The road cannot fail during heavy rains from one season. Now, hopefully, we don't have the wettest winter ever.
Right.
And the
Thank God we're in spring now.
Exactly. But there are methods that we can use if we do get into a rainy season where we can't get in and do this project because the slopes are too wet, for example.
Right.
There are mechanisms that we can put in place, that Band-Aids that'll get us through to the spring to where we could put in the stabilization project.
For the critics out there in the community that have watched this and they've been saying, please do something, and the city's not moving fast enough, how do you respond to that? Because I'm sure you get that.
Yes, we hear it from time to time. Any volunteers, any folks that want to come help, I would welcome that with our open arms. We have all that we can do right now to meet all of the funding requirements, the applications, all of our submissions are being made. We've made an application to the state for the Prop 1E funding. We've followed that, or actually that followed a WRDA, or Water Resources Development application on the federal side. So we're doing everything we can. We'll be involved in the design here in May on this project. And once it goes to design, then we continually inspire the consultants to speedily run through this process. We know what we're going to do, we just need to be able to do it. And again, the environmental evaluations and reports are paramount to this process.
In general, what kind of community feedback have you been getting so far?
Generally, the community is very supportive and looking for us to do something out here. It is a big issue. A lot of people are concerned with the switchbacks. Many more people are concerned regarding the access on 25th Street, and they should be.
Yes. And of course, in the end, there really is threatened to property and even life. I mean, this is pressing, and glad to see you're moving forward. As we sort of wrap it up, I'm just curious too if there's anything misinformation about this project, the scope of it, the city's efforts, or myths regarding, San Ramon and the Terrapaca landslide.
Right. The one myth that I heard quite frequently was any development in the area is going to trigger the landslide, and not the Terrapaca landslide. That's a little localized landslide, but this whole canyon sits on a larger landslide, the South Shores landslide, and there was concern in the community that doing any kind of development would trigger that landslide. It's unfounded, but nonetheless, it's a concern residents have. I wouldn't be concerned about it at this point.
Well, this has been great that you've been able to bring us up to speed, give us the latest update, because I know, again, this is going to be the biggest public works project stabilizing San Ramon in the city's history. Anything you want to add that we haven't covered here? Do you think is important that the community needs to know just about the direction the city has taken and what lays ahead for you?
I think that the direction that we're going is a great place to be right now for the city. I think we're approaching this project on a very positive track, and at breakneck speeds, really.
So when you talk to engineers from other cities and communities, what do they think of you? Tell them about the tunnel alignment. Is that something like, wow?
Yeah, most are very interested in it. Most tell us we can't do it as quickly as we're doing it. We've had the different agencies tell us that we could accomplish it maybe in a 10-year time frame. That's just not acceptable. So we're moving forward as quickly as we can, and again, continuing to inspire those involved to move fast.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're sitting out here on a sunny, not rainy day. Ron Dragoo, senior engineer with the City of Rancho Palos Verdes, will be coming out here more frequently as you move forward with the plans, and keep us posted over at the City Channel.
Great.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Liz Brown Swanson here with RPV City Talk. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to check out the city website for all the information, including what's happening with the Public Works Department and the San Ramon Stabilization Project. Again, thanks for joining us. See you next time.